We're gonna have to look into why all these unnecessary investigations are being initiated.
What? How much is that gonna cost?
HBR Talk with Hannah Wallen. Due process advocates have been disparaged by victim identity cultists as a bunch of whiny man-babies who just want to be able to beat and rape women with impunity. This, despite the fact that our advocacy is all about ensuring that outcomes in criminal cases are based on solid, uncensored evidence, logic, fair standards, and the law, and many of us aren't even men. Our critics treat the civil right as a zero-sum game, as if due process means winning one's case, and therefore it can only benefit one side of the conflict. They oppose incorporating measures against wrongful conviction into the justice system, and in particular any recognition that sometimes the accuser is a liar rather than the victim, especially if that accuser is a woman whose complaint alleges intimate partner or sexual violence. Their talking points on this issue center on a few specific assertions or complaints. They claim false accusations are rare. They portray false accusations as harmless. They argue as if the falsely accused face no risk in the justice system. They ignore the financial aspect of false allegations, especially the cost to taxpayers based on the process set into motion when a false complaint is made to police. The facts don't back them up on any of these notions. Rare? As we pointed out last week, the data from various studies shows that credible estimates for the rate of false complaints may be anywhere from 8% to about 65%, depending on the criteria used in the study. Feminists tell us that less than 1% of rapes result in a conviction. They'll cite an article by the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, which cites the CDC's National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey's rape prevalence statistics, which may be significantly inflated due to the wording of the survey's questions and differences between the respondents' assessment of their experiences and that of researchers. That means the less than 1 stat is based on counting incidents that were never reported, and even incidents the alleged victims wouldn't agree were rape. According to the article, 77% of that number were never reported to police. The remaining stats show a 2.17% rate of conviction, meaning that, assuming none of the convictions were wrongful, rape complaints are proved false at least 3.69 times more often than they are proved true, and possibly 29.95 times more often. Harmless? False allegations can be extremely harmful both immediately and in the long term. The falsely accused suffers and faces damages. This includes damage to his reputation, risk of arrest and imprisonment, bail expenses, false conviction, and the fact that even if acquitted, his reputation will probably never be fully restored. In addition, the stress of dealing with the process and its fallout can damage his existing relationships with family and friends, cause him problems at work due to lost time, reputation issues, and hostility resulting from that, cause stress-related health problems, including anxiety, depression, elevated blood pressure, digestive issues, and exacerbation of existing health conditions. And that's just what accused adults face. Imagine having to face your peers in a school setting after being accused, facing virtue-signaling bullies, academic censure, loss of academic and career opportunity, and loss of participation in normal teenage social and developmental experiences, all at a time of greater psychological and emotional vulnerability, as well as an acceleration of every aspect of personal development. Imagine spending your teen years being told in various ways that you are less than human to everyone around you because they all think you did something you didn't do. How might a teen try to escape an environment like that? Risk-free? Due to the legal environment surrounding intimate partner and sex crime allegations, a man accused will be presumed guilty unless proven innocent. If he cannot prove his innocence, he faces imprisonment and, because of the nature of his conviction, abuse. This may go on for years, even up to nearly half of a normal lifespan depending on the conviction. If he survives that long enough to be released, he is subjected to invasion of privacy via sex offender registration, publication of said registry for public viewing, including online access, in some cases forced self-identification to neighbors, as well as compromised freedoms regarding where he may or may not reside, reduced employability, and a loss of the right to bear arms. While some folks might argue that those measures are reasonable to take in the case of an actual sex offender or domestic abuser, they're a hell of a burden to place on an innocent citizen. I challenge anyone who argues that protecting women from these types of violence justifies that to volunteer themselves to be the next sacrifice. Any takers? No? I didn't think so. But that's not all of the harm done. When a complaint is filed, the police must investigate and compile evidence. This takes hours of labor and costs hundreds to thousands of taxpayer dollars depending on the evidence, and can lead to even more expense through prosecutor case building and hearings in criminal court. In the U.S., local and state governments can spend thousands of dollars handling a single case, and that's just when there's not a wrongful imprisonment lawsuit that comes out of it. And it's not just false rape allegations. The Daily Caller has compiled a list of 21 hate crime hoaxes that have reached the national media during the Trump era, resulting in expensive investigations and in some cases court proceedings. Who pays for that? You pay for that. You pay for every moment the police have to spend interviewing a crime hoaxer and checking out his or her story. You pay for the computers and software used to document the process, the paper used to print out that documentation, any cost of storing evidence, and the cost of any lab work, transportation, or consultation involved. Every dime comes out of the taxpayer's pocket, all intended for use by law enforcement to fund necessary investigations when real crime is reported. Next time you want to buy something that doesn't quite fit into your budget, try thinking about the fact that the few extra bucks you don't have to spend on it may have gone to fund an unnecessary process set in motion by someone's lie to the police. Is that how you wanted to spend your money? Do you wonder how much the investigation into Jussie Smollett's lies cost Chicago residents? And how much of a distraction was it for the police, who have real crimes to investigate? People in some Chicago neighborhoods are dealing with real, genuine, violent crime, and their police force is sent on a wild goose chase by some actor who wants more attention than he's getting. What a city to target with a crime that involves wasting law enforcement's time. It's not just Chicago and hate crime hoaxes either. This year, the U.S. federal government spent hundreds of man-hours and thousands of dollars trawling through the life of Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh, then a nominee, for evidence of any wrongdoing because his opponents brought forward multiple unfounded accusations. A separate congressional hearing had to be held for one of those accusers as well, all at taxpayer expense. Then, political pundits spent weeks using the controversy as fodder for their attacks on your due process rights. We also just found out that our government spent millions of taxpayer dollars on a federal investigation into the president's 2016 campaign for office. That investigation was based on lies, with a report coming out this week indicating that the supposed underlying cause of the whole investigation was false. There was no collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government, and the dossier upon which much of the actual investigation was based has turned out to be unverified opposition research paid for by the Clinton campaign. As with the Smollet case, this outcome justifies further investigation, not of Trump, but of the process by which the Trump-Russia investigation was set in motion and kept going for so long. That, too, will be costly. If you're a U.S. taxpayer, it'll come out of your pocket. Are you mad yet?